Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to kick off our journey today with skills for coaching, healing, and self-mastery. This is part of the NLP Practitioner Essentials series. Today's date is March 22nd, 2026. Over the next few moments, we'll explore key skills that can transform your ability to coach, heal, and master yourself. I look forward to sharing insights and tools that will empower you on this path. Let's get started. Let's dive into the foundations of neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP as it's often called. At its core, NLP is about understanding how people think, communicate, and behave, and then using that knowledge to create positive change. One of the key elements we focus on is sensory awareness, which involves paying close attention to our five senses, what we see, hear, feel, smell, and taste, and how these perceptions influence our experience. This leads us into the concept of representational systems, which are the mental filters through which we process information, like visual, auditory, or kinesthetic modes. Recognizing these systems helps us communicate more effectively by matching how others experience the world. Now, building rapport is essential in all communication. When we establish genuine rapport, it fosters trust and openness, making our interactions much more productive. Techniques like mirroring body language or matching speech patterns can help achieve this naturally. Altogether, these elements, sensory awareness, representational systems, and rapport, are the building blocks for effective influence and connection, which are central themes in NLP and the broader goal of enhancing personal and professional relationships. Today, we're diving into the foundations of neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP for short. This is a crucial part of understanding how we can influence and improve our communication and personal development. NLP is built on a few core ideas that really set the stage for everything else we'll explore. First, it emphasizes the connection between our neurological processes, the language we use, and our behavioral patterns. Essentially, it's about understanding how our brain, language, and actions are interconnected. Next, NLP suggests that by changing the way we think and communicate, we can reprogram ourselves to achieve better results in life. It's about identifying the patterns that work and replacing those that don't. These principles form the backbone of the entire approach, helping us understand how we can unlock our potential and influence others more effectively. So, as we move forward, keep in mind that these foundational ideas are what make NLP a powerful tool for personal and professional growth. They tie directly into the overall theme of how we can harness the power of language and mind to create meaningful change. Let's take a look at the development timeline of NLP. Starting in the 1970s, we see the founding of NLP by Bandler and Grinder, who began modeling patterns of exceptional performance. Moving into the 1980s, NLP started to grow in practice, expanding into areas like therapy, coaching, and communication training. This period was all about applying NLP techniques to real-world contexts and refining the methods. In the 1990s, NLP began to integrate more closely with psychology and cognitive science, strengthening its theoretical foundations and linking it to broader scientific concepts. Then, in the 2000s, NLP saw widespread adoption globally, especially in organizations. It was used for leadership development, sales training, and change management, really becoming a valuable tool across various fields. Finally, in the 2010s, we see the rise of digital training. Online courses started to scale access, making NLP more accessible than ever and diversifying the formats in which people could learn and apply these techniques. This timeline highlights how NLP has evolved from a niche set of models into a versatile, widely adopted toolkit, adapting to technological advances and organizational needs over the decades. NLP training really expanded internationally during the 1980s and 1990s, and this growth laid the foundation for its current use in coaching and therapy today. It's fascinating to see how these techniques have spread across the globe, influencing various fields and practices. Some of the key milestones in this expansion include the development of the NLP meta model and the Milton model. These models are crucial because they shape how we analyze and utilize language patterns, helping us understand and influence communication more effectively. They're like tools that allow us to decode underlying meanings and craft impactful language. Beyond the original founders, Bandler and Grinder, other important figures have contributed significantly to NLP's evolution. Robert Dilts, Judith Delosier, and Tad James, for example, each brought new methods and applications that expanded what NLP could do. Their work helped make NLP more versatile and accessible for different fields and purposes. Overall, these milestones and key figures highlight just how dynamic and collaborative the field of NLP has become. It's not just about individual techniques, but about a collective effort to refine and broaden how we use language to create change. This international expansion and these contributions really underscore how NLP has become a powerful tool worldwide. Let's explore the core ideas behind effective communication. The saying goes, the meaning of communication is the response you get. What this reminds us is that true communication isn't just about what we intend to say. It's about how it's received and the impact it has. So, if what we're doing isn't producing the results we want, the key is to do something different. Flexibility in our approach really boosts our chances of success and helps us communicate more effectively. Now, a powerful concept is that people have all the resources they need. This means that everyone already possesses the internal strengths necessary for change and growth. NLP, or Neuro-Linguistic Programming, is a tool that helps individuals access and harness these resources, making it easier to achieve our goals. Another important point is that every behavior has a positive intention. People act based on what they believe is best for them, even if the outcome isn't ideal. Recognizing this helps us understand others better and respond with more empathy. This leads to the idea that there is no failure, only feedback. Mistakes aren't setbacks, they're valuable learning opportunities. They show us what works and what doesn't, encouraging a mindset of continuous improvement. Finally, we need to remember that the map is not the territory. Our perception of reality is subjective. It's just our personal map of the world. Understanding that others may see things differently fosters empathy and flexibility, which are essential for effective communication and connection. All of these principles are interconnected and form the foundation of NLP's core assumptions, guiding us to communicate more effectively and understand ourselves and others better. Let's explore some of the philosophical roots of NLP that influence how we understand human experience. First, constructivism and phenomenology tell us that experience isn't just something we passively record, but something we actively interpret. Meaning, then, is something we construct through our attention, our memories, and the context we're in. This means that what we perceive as reality is actually closely tied to how we see and interpret it. This idea aligns perfectly with NLP's focus on subjective states and perspective-taking. It highlights that internal representations, the way we picture our world, shape our emotions and actions. So, our perception truly influences what we experience and how we respond. Moving on, systems theory and cybernetics bring in the concept of feedback loops. Instead of thinking about behavior in a straight line, NLP emphasizes that behavior is constantly being adjusted based on ongoing results. Think of it like a self-correcting system. Small changes in language, attention, or strategy can ripple through our entire mental and emotional system, leading to bigger shifts over time. This perspective helps us understand why testing, recalibrating, and refining our approaches can lead to more effective outcomes. It's about continuous learning and adaptation, much like cybernetic models suggest. Finally, linguistic relativity, the idea that language influences how we think, is also at the core of NLP. The words we choose, the metaphors we use, and the frames we adopt can shape our attention and even limit or expand what we believe is possible. Language creates mental maps, guiding our internal models and influencing our decisions. All these roots, constructivism, systems thinking, and linguistic relativity, show us that meaning, language, and feedback are interconnected. They form the foundation for how NLP leverages language patterns and internal representations to create change. Now, let's talk about how many chronic diseases are actually influenced by psychological factors. It's quite eye-opening to realize that our mental and emotional state can play a significant role in physical health. Evidence from fields like neuroscience and psychophysiology strongly supports the effectiveness of mind-body interventions. For example, practices such as mindfulness and biofeedback have been shown to make a real difference in managing various health conditions. Interestingly, about 80% of these chronic diseases have a psychological component that impacts their development and progression. This highlights the powerful connection between our mind and body, reinforcing the idea that holistic approaches can be very beneficial. It's a crucial part of understanding how we can better support overall health through psychological well-being. NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming, leverages our sensory awareness and language patterning to help us shift our internal states and support our overall well-being. What does that mean in practice? Well, it's about tuning into how we experience the world through our senses, what we see, hear, feel, and using language to reshape those experiences. When we apply NLP, we're really influencing the mind-body connection. This communication happens through neural pathways, as well as hormonal and biochemical signals. These pathways work together to shape our emotions and, ultimately, our behaviors. An important concept here is bidirectional signaling. That means our thoughts and feelings influence our physical state, and in turn, our physical state can affect our thoughts and emotions. It's a continuous loop that NLP aims to optimize. Understanding this mind-body communication is crucial because it helps us realize that by changing how we think and speak, we can directly influence our physical and emotional well-being. This interconnectedness is a key part of how NLP supports positive change and growth. Let's talk about the expectation effect. Basically, our preconceived notions shape what we anticipate happening and how we interpret reality. If we expect something to occur, we're more likely to notice signs that confirm that expectation, which can actually influence the outcome itself. Now, moving on to emotional framing. Emotions have a powerful way of coloring our perception. How we feel at a given moment can change how we evaluate situations and how we respond to them. For example, feeling angry might make us see a neutral comment as hostile, while feeling joyful might lead us to interpret the same comment more positively. Next is interpretive bias. This is about how we assign personal meaning to events. Our past experiences and beliefs heavily influence this process. So, two people might witness the same incident but interpret it very differently based on their individual backgrounds. Lastly, there's selective attention. This is the tendency to focus on specific details and ignore others. It's like shining a spotlight on certain aspects of a situation, which then shapes what we notice and remember. Because of this, our perception is often limited and subjective. All of these points highlight an important idea. Our perception isn't just a passive reflection of reality. It's actively shaped by our expectations, emotions, past experiences, and what we choose to focus on. This is why perception truly shapes our reality. Actions are really the visible outcomes of our beliefs. They influence the choices we make every day and can even shape our long-term results. When we believe something strongly, it often guides our habitual behaviors without us even realizing it. Now, beliefs are like the foundation of our mindset. They are formed based on how we perceive the world around us, our perceptions, and these perceptions are shaped by our past experiences, knowledge, and sometimes biases. So, what we see or interpret initially plays a big role in what we come to believe. Perception is essentially our first impression of an experience or piece of information. It's how we interpret what's happening around us at any given moment. And this interpretation is heavily influenced by what we already know, our expectations, and sometimes even our biases. Understanding how perception influences our beliefs and actions is crucial because it highlights the power of our mindset. Our perceptions can reinforce existing beliefs or challenge them, ultimately shaping our behaviors and choices. Recognizing this connection allows us to become more aware of how our internal world impacts our daily life and our future. That's why, in this journey of understanding ourselves better, it's important to pay attention to how we interpret experiences, because that's where our beliefs and actions are often rooted. Let's take a closer look at some powerful techniques we can use in coaching, starting with NLP methods like anchoring, submodalities, and strategy elicitation. Research shows that applying these NLP techniques can significantly enhance coaching effectiveness, leading to better outcomes and more impactful sessions. They help us create immediate change and facilitate client breakthroughs. Moving on, we have state management and self-mastery. Techniques such as well-formed outcomes, reframing, and parts integration are essential here. They help clients reduce limiting beliefs and develop stronger action plans. This is about empowering clients to take control of their emotional states and their progress. Next, we focus on goals, beliefs, and behavior change. Packing and leading, calibration, and sensory-based language are key tools. These techniques build trust, create rapport, and keep clients engaged. They help us guide clients through change smoothly and effectively. Finally, communication and rapport are the foundation. Using NLP in coaching allows us to connect more deeply, understand clients better, and foster a trusting environment. All these techniques come together to enhance our coaching practice and support lasting change for our clients. Let's take a closer look at some compelling evidence from clinical studies. These studies have applied NLP, or natural language processing techniques, within healing contexts. And what they found is quite promising. About 68% of participants reported improvements in their anxiety symptoms. This suggests that NLP can be a powerful tool in addressing mental health challenges like anxiety. It really highlights how integrating advanced technologies into healing modalities can enhance outcomes. As we continue exploring these innovative approaches, it becomes clear that NLP has a meaningful role to play in transforming mental health treatment and overall well-being. Let's explore how we can foster personal growth through NLP principles. First, we have awareness. Being mindful and reflective helps us identify areas for development. Then, flexibility allows us to adapt our behaviors and perspectives to better meet our goals. Continual learning encourages us to stay open to new experiences and keep developing ourselves over time. Resource access is about tapping into both internal strengths and external support systems to overcome challenges. State control helps us manage our emotional and mental states, ensuring we're operating at our best. And finally, feedback is essential. It teaches us to learn from our results and adjust our strategies accordingly. When we integrate awareness, flexibility, and learning, supported by feedback, resource access, and state control, we create a powerful foundation for personal growth. This approach aligns perfectly with the overall theme of continuous self-improvement and mastery. Today is March 22nd, 2026, and we're diving into the fascinating world of sensory awareness and representational systems. These concepts are central to understanding how we experience and interpret the world around us. Essentially, sensory awareness refers to how we notice and pay attention to our senses, what we see, hear, feel, taste, and smell. It's about being present and fully engaged with our sensory experiences. Representational systems, on the other hand, are the ways our minds code and organize these sensory inputs. They shape how we internally represent our experiences, whether visually, auditorily, kinesthetically, or through other modalities. Recognizing these systems helps us better understand ourselves and others, especially in communication and personal development. Connecting these ideas to the broader theme of personal growth and effective interaction, becoming more aware of our sensory experiences allows us to tune into our internal states more precisely. By understanding the representational systems others use, we can communicate more effectively and build stronger connections. So, this slide highlights the importance of consciously engaging with our senses and understanding the mental coding behind our experiences, key tools in enhancing self-awareness and interpersonal skills. Let's talk about how NLP, or neurolinguistic programming, maps out how we internally represent information through our senses. It reveals patterns that actually influence our language choices, how we build rapport, and even our behavior. Now, when we think about using NLP with modalities, it's fascinating. The same moment in time can be experienced very differently depending on which sense is most dominant for us. For some, it might feel like a vivid image, like a picture in their mind. For others, it could be a soundtrack or a voice. Some might perceive it as a bodily sensation, like tingling or tension, or even a scent cue or a taste memory. This highlights a key point. Subjective experience varies greatly from person to person. Our visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory inputs all shape how we notice, interpret, and remember events. These 5 sensory systems are the foundation of how we experience the world, and understanding this helps us better connect and communicate. So, in essence, everyone's internal map is unique, and recognizing these differences allows us to tailor our interactions more effectively. Let's take a closer look at some key nonverbal cues and visual communication signals. First, gestures that outline shapes or point to visual elements are a powerful way to emphasize or clarify information. For example, when I draw a shape with my hands or point to a chart, it helps direct your attention. Additionally, expressive facial reactions to visual stimuli can communicate your engagement or understanding without words. Moving on to the visual lexicon, people often use words like see, look, bright, clear, and picture when they talk about what they're visualizing. These words reinforce that their thinking is rooted in visuals, which is a common trait among visual learners. Now, spatial awareness is another important aspect. It involves having a strong sense of space, distance, and layout. Someone with good spatial awareness can interpret maps, diagrams, and physical environments easily, which supports their ability to understand complex visual information. When it comes to learning strengths, visual thinkers excel when they learn through observation, diagrams, charts, and demonstrations. These methods allow them to grasp concepts more effectively because they process information visually. Imagery and visualization are also key. Visual thinkers often create mental pictures in their minds, which helps them process information and solve problems more intuitively. This mental imagery makes abstract ideas more concrete. Lastly, eye movement cues are interesting. Studies in NLP have shown that people tend to look upward or scan visually when they're thinking or recalling information. This eye movement is a subtle but telling indicator of their internal thought process. All these cues, gestures, words, spatial awareness, visualization, and eye movements are part of our visual system. Recognizing these characteristics can give us valuable insights into how someone processes information visually, helping us communicate more effectively and understand learning styles better. Now, let's talk about some key strategies for NLP practitioners. One effective approach is mirroring auditory cues, so paying close attention to how someone speaks, and then subtly adjusting your own speech patterns to match theirs. Using sound-based language, like emphasizing tone and pitch, helps build rapport and makes communication feel more natural. Sensitivity to tone is also crucial. Auditory-oriented people are often very perceptive of subtle changes in vocal pitch, rhythm, and volume. These nuances can significantly influence how they react and understand the message you're trying to convey. When it comes to language patterns, there are some common phrases that resonate well, such as "I hear you," "that sounds good," or "let's talk it over." These phrases signal active listening and openness, which encourages more effective dialogue. Now, moving on to auditory preferences. Some individuals really prefer receiving information through sound, music, or spoken words. They respond best to discussions and verbal explanations, so tailoring your approach to their preferred mode of communication makes a big difference. Finally, understanding the characteristics and cues of the auditory system can enhance your overall effectiveness. Recognizing how someone naturally responds to sound allows you to adapt your strategies accordingly, fostering better connection and understanding throughout your interactions. Now, let's look at some kinesthetic cues and strategies that can really help us understand and connect with others. First, encouraging hands-on activities and experiential exercises is a great way to enhance learning because it engages the kinesthetic sense directly. When observing body language, look for slow movements, a relaxed posture, and frequent contact with surfaces or clothing, as these can indicate a person's comfort level or their processing style. Linguistic markers are also very telling. Words like feel, grasp, hold, pressure, and solid often signal a kinesthetic focus. These words reflect how someone is experiencing or expressing their understanding through touch and physical sensation. Physical gestures such as touching objects, leaning forward, or shifting posture are clear signs that a person might be processing information kinesthetically. Recognizing these cues allows us to adapt our communication strategies effectively. By paying attention to these signs, we can better tailor our interactions, making our communication more engaging and impactful. Remember, these cues are valuable tools for building rapport and understanding others, learning preferences within the broader context of effective coaching. Let's talk about why these systems matter in NLP. Smell and taste, olfactory and gustatory senses, are less often highlighted than visual, auditory, or kinesthetic channels, but they actually carry a surprisingly strong emotional weight. A single scent or flavor can quickly trigger vivid memories, shift your mood, and influence your behavior. That makes them incredibly valuable for accessing meaningful associations, especially during change work. These experiences tend to feel immediate, intimate, and even time-bridging. People often say they feel transported to a specific moment, person, or place through these senses. Because they're harder to describe precisely than images or sounds, clients often communicate them through metaphors, like saying that situation leaves a bitter taste, or through simple descriptors such as strong or faint, fresh or stale, sweet or sharp. When listening for language cues, pay attention to words or phrases that reference scent or taste, things like "I can smell trouble," "something stinks," "sweet relief," or a sour note. Phrases like "left a bad taste" or "spicy" or "burnt out" can signal that the person is organizing their experience through these channels. Recognizing this helps us match their language and gently deepen their representation. In terms of therapeutic applications, smell and taste are powerful tools for anchoring and accessing emotions. Because they can cue strong associations, they're great for linking an internal state to a stimulus, what we call anchoring, and for finding the entry point into a memory or mood. Practically, this means inviting clients to notice any scent or taste linked to an experience, using their own descriptors, and then calibrating the intensity or pleasantness to guide the packing and resource-building process. Now, let's talk about how to apply this concept. The key idea here is to mirror the client's preferred modality. By doing so, we can tailor our questions, phrasing, and interventions to match their sensory preferences. This approach helps us achieve faster recognition and better alignment with the client. Next, it's important to understand what to look for. NLP often uses language patterns, eye movements, and behavioral cues to infer a person's primary representational system. These cues give us valuable insight into how they process information most naturally. And why does this matter? Well, matching a person's sensory preference, whether they're more visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, significantly improves clarity, builds rapport, and increases engagement. When we communicate in a way that's aligned with their natural style, the interaction becomes much more effective. So, in summary, understanding and applying these cues allows us to connect more deeply with clients, making our communication more impactful and efficient. Today, I want to talk about the different sensory modalities that influence how people process information and communicate. First, we have the kinesthetic modality. These individuals tend to favor words like grasp, touch, feel, handle, and move. They relate best through sensation, movement, and physical experiences. So if you're working with kinesthetic learners or communicators, it's helpful to incorporate hands-on activities and physical engagement. Next, we have the auditory modality. These folks prefer words like hear, listen, sound, resonate, and discuss. They're tuned into tone, rhythm, and verbal cues. When communicating with auditory learners, it's effective to focus on tone of voice, clarity, and opportunities for discussion or listening. They really absorb information through sound. Then there are the visual thinkers. They use words like see, look, clear, view, and focus. Visual individuals describe their experiences through images, colors, and clarity. They often think in pictures, so incorporating visual aids, diagrams, and visual summaries helps them process information effectively. Understanding these sensory preferences is crucial because it helps us tailor our communication and teaching methods. Recognizing whether someone is kinesthetic, auditory, or visual allows us to connect better and facilitate learning in a way that resonates most with them. Let's start by recognizing some common phrases we might hear or use, like "I can't get a handle on it," or "that feels off." These are often signals that someone is relying on sensory-based language to express their experience. When someone says, "I can't get a handle on it," they're usually indicating a kinesthetic feeling, something they're trying to grasp or move through physically. Similarly, "that feels off" points to an internal sensation or emotional state. Now, to connect with these cues, try this approach. Let's take it step by step. You can say, "Let's talk it through," or "What's your take?" This invites them to articulate what they're experiencing and helps establish rapport. For auditory cues, such as "I hear you" or "that sounds right," the person is often referencing what they hear or how they interpret sounds and messages. In these cases, you might respond with, "I see what you mean," or "that's clear to me," to acknowledge their perception. When someone says, "I see what you mean," or "that's clear to me," they're engaging their visual or conceptual processing. You can match this by saying, "Let's map it out," or "picture the outcome," to help them visualize the situation or solution. Understanding this sensory language is key because it reveals their emotional state and how they process information. Recognizing whether someone's language is more kinesthetic, auditory, or visual allows us to decode their internal experience, improve rapport, and tailor our message to fit their preferred representational system. So, by tuning into these cues and matching tone and wording, we can enhance our communication, build trust, and better connect with others' experiences. On this slide, we're focusing on some practical benefits we can gain during a session by sharpening our observational skills. First, improved interpersonal sensitivity really helps us become more aware of the nuances in our interactions. When we're more attuned, we communicate more clearly and build deeper rapport with our clients or colleagues. Next, adaptive response skills come into play. These allow us to tailor our interventions in real time, based on the subtle signals we pick up. It's about being flexible and responsive, adjusting our approach as the situation unfolds. Then, there's the idea of deepened presence. Cultivating mindfulness and full engagement helps us stay grounded and attentive, creating a more meaningful connection with the person we're working with. Now, let's talk about physiological cues. Noticing changes in breathing, posture, or skin tone can give us important clues about someone's stress or comfort levels. These cues often happen below the level of conscious awareness, but can be incredibly telling. Voice tonality is also key. Shifts in pitch, volume, or rhythm can reveal underlying emotions or intentions that might not be obvious at first glance. Being sensitive to these shifts helps us better understand what's really going on. And finally, micro-expression recognition. These fleeting facial expressions can reveal underlying emotions that someone might be trying to hide. Learning to observe these tiny cues enhances our empathy and allows us to respond more accurately and supportively. All of these skills, sensory acuity, tone awareness, micro-expression recognition, are about enhancing our overall awareness. They're powerful tools that, when developed, help us connect more deeply and respond more effectively in every session. Now, let's look at some exercises to build your sensory acuity. First, focused observation is key. By intentionally noticing subtle shifts in facial expressions, gestures, and tone during interactions, you can sharpen your awareness over time. Practice this daily to become more attuned to your clients' unspoken cues. Next, sensory journaling involves recording sensory details after each coaching session, things like voice pitch, body language, and emotional cues. This helps you build a personal signal library, making it easier to recognize patterns and respond more effectively. Moving on, mirroring practices involve subtly mimicking a client's posture or tone. This technique can significantly strengthen rapport and help you tune into their moment-to-moment state, creating a more connected and empathetic coaching environment. Feedback integration is also crucial. Reviewing peer or client feedback allows you to spot blind spots and identify areas for improvement. From there, you can choose one targeted sensory cue to refine in your next session, ensuring continuous growth. Finally, reflecting and continuing involves connecting your practice outcomes to your emotional intelligence and engagement, using empirical evidence to see what's working. Setting routines to sustain this growth helps embed these skills into your daily coaching practice, making them part of your ongoing development. Today, we're focusing on rapport building and effective communication, which are essential skills in any professional setting. Developing rapport helps establish trust and a positive connection with others, making collaborations smoother and more productive. When we talk about effective communication, it's not just about speaking clearly, but also listening actively and understanding the other person's perspective. These skills are vital because they directly influence how well we can work together and solve problems. Remember, good communication and rapport are the foundation for strong relationships, which ties back to our overall goal of creating a collaborative and productive work environment. So, keep in mind that investing time in building genuine connections and communicating effectively will pay off in every aspect of your professional life. Let's talk about the principles of rapport and trust. First, consistency is key. When our actions and words align, it builds confidence and strengthens the connection we have with others. Reliability shows that we can be counted on, which is essential in establishing trust. Next, nonverbal communication plays a huge role. Using positive body language, like maintaining eye contact or nodding appropriately, signals attentiveness and reinforces that we're engaged. These cues help to foster trust without saying a word. Empathy is also crucial. When we understand and validate the emotions of others, it creates a deeper sense of connection. This understanding can lead to better therapeutic outcomes because people feel genuinely heard and supported. Respect is another vital element. Valuing different perspectives and honoring boundaries increases cooperation and compliance. When people feel respected, they are more likely to open up and work collaboratively. Remember, rapport is built through trust and mutual understanding. This foundation supports openness, cooperation, empathy, and compliance, ultimately leading to stronger therapeutic alliances. Active listening ties everything together. Showing genuine interest in what someone is saying enhances trust and encourages openness. When we really listen, we demonstrate that we value their perspective. Finally, transparency, being honest and clear, reduces misunderstandings. It promotes mutual understanding, making interactions smoother and more effective. All these principles work together to create a strong, trusting relationship, which is at the heart of effective communication and successful outcomes. Now, moving on to a really important point about rapport in coaching. Research shows that of clients who reported high rapport with their coach, a significant 87% achieved their stated goals. This really underscores how crucial building a strong connection is. High rapport doesn't just feel good, it actually fosters psychological safety. When clients feel safe and understood, they're more willing to be vulnerable, explore new ideas, and take risks necessary for growth. This openness and trust create a supportive environment where meaningful change can happen more effectively. So, when we talk about the psychology of rapport, it's clear that it's a foundational element that supports better outcomes. Building that genuine connection isn't just a nice-to-have, it's a key driver of success in coaching. Let's talk about matching and mirroring skills, which are essential for building subconscious connection cues. One key aspect is sitting angle and the pace of movement. By subtly aligning your body orientation and how quickly you're moving, you create a sense of harmony. Mirroring hand openness also plays a big role. For example, if the other person's hands are open, gently mirroring that signals comfort and openness. Another important point is synchronizing breathing rhythm without copying exactly. This helps establish a natural, nonverbal flow that feels authentic. These small, subconscious cues signal to the other person that you're tuned in, which increases their comfort level and helps to accelerate rapport, trust, and openness. Now, why does this work? It's rooted in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. By subtly aligning posture, gestures, and breathing, you create a natural, nonverbal fit with the other person. This nonverbal matching helps your communication feel seamless and genuine, making the connection more effortless. In essence, matching and mirroring are about creating a subconscious connection. It's not about copying exactly, but about subtly aligning your body language to foster trust and rapport. When done well, it becomes a powerful tool in your communication toolkit. Beyond behavior, it's really about matching language to deepen the connection. Advanced practitioners pay close attention to tone, tempo, and vocabulary. These are key to aligning with how the client is making meaning. This creates rapport that's more profound than just observing posture or gestures. We use layered strategies to do this effectively. For example, when a client reflects and slows down, you might slow your tempo slightly to mirror that. On the other hand, if they're exploring options and energizing, you can subtly pick up the pace to match their energy. Vocabulary is equally important. Mirroring their keywords, things like stuck, pressure, or clarity, helps keep the conversation inside their frame. Reusing their metaphors also signals understanding and keeps the dialogue authentic. So why does this matter in coaching? Well, research shows that nuanced synchrony, this kind of language matching, significantly increases empathy and makes you seem more genuine. Clients tend to feel truly understood, which enhances trust, while also allowing your natural presence as a coach to shine through. In essence, linguistic synchrony isn't just about copying words. It's about creating a seamless, authentic connection that helps clients open up and explore more deeply. Let's talk about how we can use our voice effectively in communication. First, tempo, or the speed of speech, is a powerful tool. Adjusting how fast or slow we speak helps us emphasize key points, improve clarity, and even convey a sense of calm. This supports making others feel comfortable and helps them understand us better. Next is pitch, which refers to how high or low our voice sounds. Varying our pitch can signal different emotions, excitement, calmness, or urgency, and it keeps our audience engaged. It's a subtle way to add emotion and emphasis to our message. Finally, tone, the emotional quality of our speech, plays a crucial role. Whether it's warmth, firmness, or neutrality, tone shapes how our message is perceived. It can help us build rapport or, if misused, create distance. Together, these elements, tempo, pitch, and tone, are essential in verbal communication. They help us connect with our audience and convey our message more effectively, supporting the overall theme that voice modulation is key to impactful communication. Let's talk about body language awareness and how it can really enhance our coaching and healing practices. When someone shows open palms and a relaxed smile, it typically indicates openness, trust, and a sense of safety. Reinforce that feeling by validating what you're hearing, which helps build rapport. Now, if you notice someone leaning forward, that usually signals interest, engagement, or sometimes urgency. It's a good opportunity to invite deeper reflection and explore what's prompting that movement. On the other hand, if you see someone leaning back or crossing their arms, that can often be a sign of self-protection, discomfort, or even disagreement. When that happens, it's helpful to confirm how they're feeling with a gentle, open-ended question. Remember, nonverbal cues like facial expressions, gestures, and physical distance add a rich layer of meaning to the spoken words. Paying close attention to these cues allows us to notice unspoken needs and emotions, which is especially valuable in coaching and healing contexts. So, being aware of body language isn't just about reading signals. It's about understanding the whole person and creating a safe, trusting environment where genuine connection can happen. Let's talk about what calibration really is. Calibration is an ongoing, moment-to-moment practice where we pay close attention to small changes in a client's physiology and behavior. These tiny shifts can tell us a lot about their internal state. By tuning into these cues, we can time our interventions more precisely, knowing when to slow down, deepen the work, reframe, or offer regulation. Now, what should we be noticing? We want to track microshifts like changes in breath, skin tone, swallowing, blinking, shoulder height, fidgeting, gaze direction, voice pace, and brief micro-expressions. The key here is consistent noticing. This helps us distinguish between different states, whether someone is activated, guarded, relieved, or connected, without overinterpreting any single cue. How does this improve our interventions? Well, for example, if I'm exploring a memory and I notice a client's jaw tighten or their exhale shortens, I can pause, name that shift, and offer grounding before continuing. Neuroscience research shows that microexpressions and rapid affective signals can reveal these changes faster than words alone, which makes calibration a powerful tool. Ultimately, calibration is about noticing in-the-moment responses. It's about being present enough to pick up on those subtle shifts, so we can respond more effectively and support our clients through their process. Let's take a closer look at feedback loops in communication. First, the sender initiates the message, which sets the entire process in motion. Then, the receiver interprets the signals, both verbal and nonverbal, to understand the message being conveyed. Next, the receiver provides feedback, whether verbal or nonverbal, to indicate if they understand or if there's confusion. Based on this feedback, the sender adjusts and repeats the message as needed, creating a continuous loop. This ongoing process helps ensure mutual understanding, which is essential for effective communication. Remember, these feedback loops are key to avoiding misunderstandings and building clear, collaborative exchanges. They connect back to the overall theme of communication being a dynamic, two-way process. Let's talk about what rapport looks like in session. Practical application starts with initial matching, where we subtly mirror the client's tone and pace to establish a natural connection. Active listening is essential, really paying attention to their words, emotions, and cues. Responding in a way that feels congruent helps build trust, showing we're truly understanding them. Now, to establish trust quickly, there are some effective tactics. Matching the client's pace and tone creates a sense of harmony. Reflecting back keywords they use demonstrates we're listening and valuing their perspective. Using validating summaries confirms we've understood their points and reassures them. Also, asking permission before challenging assumptions respects their autonomy and helps maintain trust. Why does all this matter? Well, studies show that when coaches are skilled at building rapport, clients tend to trust more and make progress faster toward their goals. Building that relationship early on really sets the stage for success. So, applying rapport skills in coaching isn't just about being friendly. It's a strategic approach that enhances connection, trust, and ultimately, effectiveness. Research shows that patients who develop a strong therapeutic rapport with their healthcare providers tend to be much more engaged in their treatment. In fact, about 67% of these patients demonstrate higher adherence to their treatment plans. This means they're more consistent with medication, therapy sessions, and lifestyle changes. And as a result, their outcomes improve significantly. Building trust and a genuine connection isn't just a nice extra, it's a critical component of effective care. When patients feel understood and supported, they're more motivated to follow through. So, fostering that strong therapeutic relationship is actually a key strategy for achieving better health results overall. Now, let's explore how to strengthen trust in our choices through mindful decision-making. When we approach decisions with awareness and clarity, we build confidence in our ability to choose wisely. This is the foundation of decision confidence, which grows as we develop coping skills to handle setbacks. Resilience building is essential here. By learning how to bounce back from challenges, we can maintain our momentum and stay focused on our goals. Next, regularly evaluating our progress allows us to see what's working and what needs adjustment. Self-reflection helps us adapt our strategies for continued growth and success. Taking purposeful steps that align with our core values and intentions ensures that our actions are authentic and meaningful, reinforcing our sense of self-trust. Equally important is emotional awareness. Recognizing and regulating our emotions helps us stay balanced and clear-headed, especially in stressful situations. When we understand our emotional responses, we can manage them effectively, which supports better decision-making. Finally, challenging limiting beliefs and fostering empowering perspectives is crucial. By aligning our beliefs, emotions, and actions through practices like NLP, we cultivate internal trust. This internal trust is key to self-mastery, as it enhances resilience and decision-making effectiveness. In essence, building trust in ourselves is the foundation for personal growth. When we trust in our ability to navigate choices and challenges, we become more resilient, confident, and capable of achieving our desired outcomes. Self-mastery in action is really about putting these principles into practice to create lasting transformation, not just for ourselves, but also for the people we guide. When it comes to rapport building, the key idea is that trust naturally grows when our communication aligns with the other person's experience, their pace, and their values. It's about tuning in deeply to where they're coming from. Sensory awareness plays a crucial role here, as sharpening our perception allows us to notice internal shifts, those subtle changes in feelings or thoughts, so we can respond with greater clarity and precision. It's like having a finely tuned sensor that keeps us attuned to what's happening beneath the surface. And then there's mind-body communication. NLP really gives us insight into how language, physiology, and meaning all influence outcomes, whether we're coaching, healing, or supporting growth. Understanding these connections helps us shape more effective interventions and foster genuine change. Ultimately, all of these elements come together in empowering transformation through NLP mastery. When we integrate rapport, sensory awareness, and mind-body communication, we're not just applying techniques. We're embodying a way of being that creates profound and lasting change, both in ourselves and in those we serve.